What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guys, Derek and Cody, with you. And guys, I did a live stream on this earlier, but I kind of wanted to have a chance to talk about this with Cody because we really only were texting ever so often about what was going on, and kind of have a chance to talk about it for some people who I'm sure pretty much everyone has seen it by now. A Colts player was being investigated, and is still being investigated by the NFL for some gambling things that were going on. The initial report was that it wasn't a star, but it was a person that the average fan would know. That was from Ari's Twitter earlier today. And Dustin Adams from the Horseshoe Huddle broke the news first on who that player exactly was. And that just so happened to be Colts cornerback Isaiah Rodgers. Isaiah Rodgers, who coming into this offseason was presumably going to be the number one corner for the Indianapolis Colts. And pending this investigation, there may not be a Isaiah Rodgers season for him. And they're still debating on the full punishment length because there's still more things coming out. Since this has happened, just before we recorded this, Isaiah Rodgers has officially put out a statement on Twitter addressing the current reports and taking full responsibility for his actions. Will take whatever punishment he is given and will try to refrain from performing such actions in the future and looking to try to be a part of the NFL still. Cody, I mean, I was just saying it yesterday, like this time of year really sucks because it's the time of year where, there's no news going out. And sure enough, I mean, it just seems like every off season, there's just always something that the Colts Nation has to deal with. And sure enough, we find out that our potential number one corner may be missing the whole year, potentially, maybe even more, depending on what this investigation finds. What was your reaction to hearing about Isaiah Rodgers?
So stupid. Such a stupid action from Isaiah Rodgers. Good. I'm glad he's remorseful. I'm glad he's taking responsibility, but come on, man. Like you may have risked your career, like from just doing something so dumb that you knew was illegal. You knew you couldn't do this and you thought you could get away with it. And it sucks, man, because you're right. Like Isaiah Rodgers had a great opportunity this year to be the number one corner, to be the guy that was going to, potentially get a nice contract by the end of the year. If he performed like he's been, we've talked about how Isaiah Rodgers, we always felt like deserved more snaps. Well, this was finally his year to do that. And he goes out and, I don't really think there's a chance he plays this year, Derek. I really don't. We've seen, Calvin Ridley got suspended for a lot less for an entire year for stuff with gambling. And so this is much more severe. And it's just such a dumb thing to do at this point, why would you risk your career for this? And, I got to just think, man, teammates are obviously disappointed. The Colts are disappointed. Fans are disappointed. But I will say Isaiah Rodgers, great kid. We've talked to him before. He's a friend of the show, and obviously we hope that he can learn from this. And we'll see what happens. But man, it's just a good kid that made a really dumb decision. That's kind of where I'm at with it. And yeah, you're right. It just seems like we can't get a break as Colts fans. There's always something. There's always something that happens, and it just sucks. I guess that's just the nature of it, but. It just sucks, man, because he was a young ascending player, Isaiah Rodgers, and we felt like he had just an opportunity here with this team. But I guess good – I don't want to say good, but, I guess the good thing is the Colts drafted 3 corners this draft, so they have a lot of depth, which is good. But now, obviously, I mean, you're going to have, Derek, unless you sign out some outside player – you're going to have pretty much all rookies potentially starting outside of Kenny Moore. So, you already had a position that was pretty thin on the experience standpoint. And you're just, even less now on the experience standpoint with, Juju Brents being out with that wrist injury. He hasn't really done anything yet. So there's a lot of questions, and I do wonder if the Colts will look, depending what happens with this, we'll look into the free agent market as well and try to maybe bring in a vet. It just overall situation just sucks because I think we felt like that was a young group, but Rodgers was the guy that we're the most excited for. So, I mean, obviously it would have sucked with anybody, but Isaiah Rodgers, it hurts a little bit more just because of what we know he can be and what he's shown in the past. And just the fact that he's only 25 years old. And who knows, he could have put his career in jeopardy here. And if he does, that just is really unfortunate because he's a super talented player.
Yeah, I mean, so much to unpack with it, just feeling the way that I did. And, I did that live stream earlier and I kind of talked about it from every angle that I could. I mean, it just stinks because it's it sucks because I want to feel bad for him, but at the same time, I just can't be right now. I just can't be. I mean, because you knew what you were doing was illegal. You knew it was. I mean, it's not like it was a genuine mistake where, Robert Mathis, when he was playing, accidentally took a drug that he thought was safe, but it wasn't. He wasn't clear on it. That was a mistake. And he ended up paying the price for it. But here, I mean, you literally, from the reports that we heard, is that supposedly he had an associate of his make the fake account and then place the bets that Isaiah Rodgers wanted him to place. And supposedly most bets were anywhere from $25 to $50, but then there was one bet that was in the thousands. Yeah. So, I mean, you knew what you were doing was illegal. You tried to get away with it, of course. I just can't be one of those people right now that sits here and I'm like, oh yeah, all good, Isaiah. We know you're going to come back on this. I can't because you willingly did it. People make mistakes and that's fine, but I just don't understand how, I really want him to come back. But the problem that we have here is you got to remember Calvin Ridley last offseason got suspended for a year for a 4-game parlay in which he bet for his team in one of those games. 4 games. And he ended up getting a full year's worth of suspension for it. And from the reports, Rodgers had over 100 bets, including games that we don't know yet whether or not he bet against the Colts or for the Colts. Either or doesn't matter. He bet on games involving the Colts. So I don't know what that is. I don't know what's going to happen one way or another, but it would shock me if it's only a year. Yeah. I mean, it would shock me. If he bet on Colts games regardless and it was over 100 bets, NFL might just tell this kid, we can't bring you back. You went to the extreme of the extreme, dude. We can't do that. So, right. It sucks because, like you said, we've had him on the show before. He's been a great person for us. He's been a great member of this team, of this community, and he's done so good for us and everything that he's done as being an Indianapolis Colt. And then just to now have to sit here and now every time I have to think about Isaiah Rodgers, now this has to come up. And it's unfortunate. I don't want to have to think about that, about Isaiah Rodgers, because I just never would have thought something like this would come up from him. And right. it sucks because when I got told who it was, I was dumbfounded. I'm like, there's just no way. But sure enough, here we are. And like you said, now, unless Indianapolis decides to hit the free agent market again for a corner, which, at this point in the game, Cody, I don't even know if they will. I think there might only be 1 or 2 guys that the Colts would even entertain at this point to do that. Then you're just spending money. Obviously we have to wait until the end of this investigation to know what is going to happen with Isaiah Rodgers. But one way or another, I don't see Isaiah Rodgers returning, to be quite honest with you, because he was going into a contract year, and Now this is on your resume. I mean, any other time, this might not have been the worst thing in the world for you, but when you're going into a contract year, it doesn't seem like there's much of a future with the Indianapolis Colts for Isaiah Rodgers going forward.
We'll see, I guess. But yeah, just overall, just a not great situation. You're right. Like I feel like at the best, it's a year, but like who knows what it could be now. Knowing the NFL and how inconsistent they can be, if it's something crazier where it's less, obviously we'll be over the moon. But yeah, not expecting Isaiah Rodgers to be a contributor this year. So yeah, in the immediate, I mean, yeah, definitely just it really hurts your corner room, a lot. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll follow that investigation, what the NFL comes to, and then how that impacts the DBs. And if the Colts decide we just want to stay young and ride it out for the season, or if they want to, I don't know, do something different and go after a vet, I guess we'll see. But nonetheless, just sucks. I mean, it just completely just changes everything in that DB room right now, in that cornerback room. So, yeah.
Yep. And,
not a whole lot to say,
Yeah. And we're going to keep an eye on, what all is going on and, everything like that. I mean, from apparently what Kevin Bowen has even stated is that the NFL has exonerated all other Colts players from this investigation. So they are not looking into anyone else as of yet, and don't seem to be like they are. So I mean, that's a good thing at least.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I mean, still doesn't make it any easier. It's just a weird thing because then we're now going to have to talk about once we find out what is going to actually happen with Isaiah Rodgers, we'll start creating content on, what the Colts should do next, what at the cornerback position, what does that impact them and their way of thinking and other things. I mean, I don't know. Just see, it's a lot of emotions and it kind of stinks to just be in this situation, but we'll see what happens. Anything else that you got, Cody, with talking about Isaiah Rodgers here?
No, I mean, I don't think there's much more to say. It's just like, you should be better, Isaiah. You should know better. That's all we got.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Again, if you haven't watched the live stream, you can go watch that when I was breaking that down. But let us know your thoughts, guys, on Isaiah Rodgers and what happened with him today. And, we're still waiting for, this investigation to conclude and what kind of punishment they're going to give him. Hopefully we'll find that out here this week. So that way we can, kind of look forward and go and see where we got to go from here. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.